Fouling occurs when marine animals or plant life anchor themselves firmly to your underwater hull. The effect is to reduce your boat's performance, extending journey times and requiring more fuel. Seajet makes a range of antifouling paints to effectively combat the problem, but they need to be correctly applied for the best results. Before applying antifouling, the boat must be lifted for the underwater hull to be thoroughly cleaned. Taking some photos as she comes out will remind you of where the fouling is at its worst. Antifouling is a toxic material, so before working with it, you need to protect yourself with some basic equipment. This includes a pair of overalls, disposable gloves, goggles, a hat and a face mask. Remove every trace of fouling. Pressure washing is the most effective, but in some areas, such as behind chines, you may have to follow up with an abrasive pad and fresh water. Barnacles may be particularly stubborn, especially around stern gear, so remove them with care. The waterline may also be very dirty and will need to be cleaned. If fouling is above the waterline, then the waterline itself may need to be raised. With everything rinsed and dried, inspect the hull for any breakdown of the original antifouling. Any loose or flaking paint will need to be abraded with 80 grit wet and dry paper prior to priming. A sanding block will be a great help. The abrading will feather the edges and also key the bare gel coat. Rinse with fresh water afterwards. If the original antifouling is just too old or badly eroded, then it can be completely removed with slurry blasting or mechanical scraping. The underwater area can then be re-primed. When opening Seajet 011 primer, cover the lid with a cloth as pressure can sometimes build up inside. Stir the contents well, reaching to the very bottom of the tin, and then decant a working amount into a suitable paint kettle. Replace the lid to keep out any dust or contamination. Brush the primer liberally over the exposed areas and allow to dry. As the primer is drying, mask up the waterline. Use a good quality masking tape and follow the waterline exactly, pushing the tape down firmly and making sure all clean edges are covered. Also cover any fittings such as anodes or trim tab rams and leave an inch clear around stern drives. Paint thickens in the cold, so the antifouling is best kept at room temperature just before use, and make sure you read the instructions carefully. The amount you will need can be found on a comprehensive coverage table on the Seajet website. To ensure a suitably thick coating is applied, Seajet recommends using a medium pile mohair roller of good quality, which will help avoid any slipping across the hull. Open the can carefully, protecting against any gas buildup, and stir the paint thoroughly as the contents can settle with time. Decant a working amount into a paint tray, reseal the tin against dust, and load up the roller. Apply the paint generously, making sure you have good coverage by going over each area in 2 passes, both vertically and horizontally. Use a brush for the areas where you need a high degree of accuracy, such as at the waterline, and make sure you cover the high fouling leading and trailing edges well. If you have a film thickness gauge, apply primer and anti-fouling coats to a minimum of 250 microns wet, which will dry to a required minimum film thickness of 100 microns per coat. Don't try and ration the paint, as it's false economy. Once the first coat has been applied, remove the masking tape immediately for a clean, crisp edge. For best results, the hull should have 2 full coats of antifouling, so remask the waterline, pushing the tape down firmly to prevent bleed, and then repeat the painting process. Be generous with the paint on the waterline and on any leading and trailing edges. Use up any leftovers on these critical areas. As before, remove the tape almost immediately for an attractive, sharp edge. And that's it, job done. Seajet recommends leaving the re-antifoul boat ashore for a full day before relaunching, but no longer than 4 months. From then on, all it will need is an annual haul out and pressure wash and a fresh coat of Seajet 033 Shogun